Hello everyone, this is Collective Power with another Marvel's Avengers build, this time for Iron Man. This build relies heavily on rockets and keeping out of danger. This build does a lot of damage due to skill specializations, gear perks, and status damage combos, so you want to keep away from enemies by staying in the air to make best use of Iron Man. Now first, we're going to go over Iron Man's skill specializations that I've picked, and then we will go over Iron Man's stats and gear. Starting off with the Iron Man specialties, for Iron Man's Arc Overload, I use Arc Field, as it'll block all incoming range attacks and I can use it to protect myself and my teammates. Then I use EMP Amplifier to extend the range of the initial pulse, shockwave, and cause more shock damage, which will combo with my plasma rockets later on. You can also use Defensive Shield if you instead want to reflect projectiles back using the Arc Field. Next, for Unibeam, I use Precision Refractor to extend the use of Unibeam, which lets me do more damage, especially when combined with Concentrated Fire. Concentrated Fire increases the damage dealt to enemies the longer they are hit by the beam. And finally, for the Hulkbuster, I use Magnum Missile Barrage, as it does a lot of damage really fast. I use it with Energy Star, so that I have a chance to get off 3 Magnum Missile Barrages before the Hulkbuster disappears. Now I don't use the Hulkbuster that much, I mainly use it to heal myself when I get really low, because if you call in the Hulkbuster, Iron Man will automatically heal to full health, and then you can just cancel a Hulkbuster and you've only probably used about, I say not even a quarter of your heroic bar for the Hulkbuster. It's all regen back very quickly and you can use it again right away. Now onto the Mastery skill trees. For the Combat skill tree, I'm using Stun Mastery to cause more stun damage, to set up takedowns for my teammates and sometimes myself. I don't rely on takedowns too much as Iron Man, because I'm mostly in the air, but I use this just so I can help set up takedowns for my allies. Then I use Heroic Takedown Mastery for Heroic Orbs, and lastly I use Ranged Combat Mastery to increase all range damage by 15%, which this build focuses on. Now onto the range tree, I'm using Rocket Mastery to increase the damage of rockets with Rocket Specialization, so it's easier to aim rockets, it kinda gets a lock-on feature, and with Rocket Efficiency, so I can spam more rockets. Then for the intrinsic ability tree, I'm using Reactor Generator to speed up the regenerative speed of my intrinsic energy faster so I can spam more range attacks sooner. And I'm using Overcharge Duration, which allows Iron Man to stay in his overcharged state longer. The perk says 2 seconds longer, but it feels more like 5 seconds. Then I use Overcharge Damage Boost to cause more damage. Then lastly, we have the utility skill tree. I use Reactive Generator to gain intrinsic energy from parrying so I can get into overcharged mode. Then I use Tactical Barrier to increase critical hit chance. Not sure if this perk really works though right now, but if it does, I keep it on just in case. And lastly, I use Air Superiority, as we'll be in the air most of the time and this allows us to do more range damage. This build relies on staying away from enemies, so you want to stay up high in the air to avoid melee enemies, otherwise you'll go down easier. This build doesn't have self-healing like a Thor, Miss Marvel, or Hulk build can, so you want to avoid getting into big fights and stay in the air. Now onto the stats and gear. For my stats, I mainly focus on Precision and Valor. Since this is a ranged rocket build, you need Precision. And then I focus on my stats into Resolve for some Willpower and Intensity to cause more status and stun damage faster. I recommend not venturing farther than the amount of intensity I have on my build, just because of diminishing returns after about 50 intensity. Now onto the gear I'm using. I'm using the Heavyweight Inspiration Gauntlets mostly for the Valor and final perk. Armory Breaker causes all my weapons damage to cause 14.4% more damage, and from testing it, it works better than switching out for another piece of gear with Precision stats instead. Next, I'm using the Adept Ball Repulsor, and this is because it has a damage buff proccing off ranged critical hits and is easy to proc. It has Plasma Bomb, which combos very well with Arc Overload. When enemies are fully affected by shock damage, shooting them with my Plasma Rockets will cause exploit damage and double the amount of damage I'm doing with Iron Man. And then the final perk gives Heroic Charge Burst. Now for my test piece, I'm using Reactive Graviton Explosion Plating, but I'm mainly just using for the Resolve and Valor stats, but it does have a high chance to grant Iron Man a defense buff when critically injured, so that he has a chance to find somewhere to heal. Lastly, I have the heavyweight blessing reactor for the precision and valor stats, but it does give me a chance to proc a defense buff when defeating enemies and get another heroic charge burst. So long as Iron Man is proccing the defense buffs from these last two gear pieces, he should be okay with not being able to self-heal himself like some other heroes. Now for my major artifact, I'm using the Norn Stone to extend my use of damage buffs and extra crit chance. And for my minor artifacts, I'm using a blue ISO with 3 precision stats, along with a Norn Stone of crystalline luck for the valor and precision stats that might just help when I need to do melee attacks to build up energy. Now how I apply Iron Man is by staying in the air 95% of the time and shooting rockets. And don't hover in one place unless arc field or energy barrier is up, otherwise Iron Man will be an easy target for enemies with rockets. I try to take out all the turrets and flying enemies first, before focusing on the stronger enemies like Adaptoids. And when I see a good opportunity, I will use Arc Overload to cause shock damage to enemies and blast them away with plasma missiles for exploit damage, or also known as battery damage. Now I will show you some gameplay at challenge level 4.
Well done. Our agents can take it from here.
Avengers! We figured you'd be doing Hill's dirty work. Taskmaster's mercenary.
What are they doing here?
Protecting the base, it seems.
Get rid of them.
Close range. Flies and nothing.
They've got backup. We'll keep them busy.
All clear. You defeated. And boom! One of their agents is down. Excellent. Another agent down. Well done. That squad member has been neutralized.
We're scanning the facility for the clone.
So good of you to come. A shame you won't be around long.
Glad we're on the same page about your chances.
Using his credentials to enter the AIM database. And we have located the clone on the top floor. Watch out. I think it might be exactly there.
Who you gonna call? All Buster!
You never learn, Masters.
Ooh, a burn and a pun. Screw Fury. I want you to be the one I relentlessly annoy by not following orders.
Well, that is it for this build video. Hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a like and a comment and a share, and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll be working on Hulk and Black Widow builds next. Also on Twitch, I'm doing a Spider-Man marathon leading up to Miles Morales Spider-Man, so come to twitch.tv/CookiePower if you want to hang out. I stream mostly Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 8:30. We do that for a couple hours each day, Pacific Standard Time. And currently we are playing Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and we'll be doing Spider-Man Edge of Time next. And I have uploaded my other playthroughs to this channel if you want to check those out. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.